Hello everyone, my name is Arwin Rahi. I will be briefly presenting on Tipu Sultan and his diplomatic outreach to Afghanistan. I'll talk about three things. First, why Tipu Sultan reached out to Afghanistan. Second, what the Afghan response was. And third and final, how the British reacted to this. First, why did Tipu Sultan reach out to Afghanistan? We have to keep in mind that for much of the 1780s and 1790s, Tipu Sultan was engaged in a military struggle against the British. So it was in this context that in 1796, Tipu Sultan sent his envoys to Afghanistan. At the time, Zaman Shah was the ruler of Afghanistan, and Tipu Sultan's request was basically that he wanted either Zaman Shah to come to India uh, or send one of his officers to India. The officer would then, in collusion and in collaboration with the Rajputs, attack the Deccan where Tipu Sultan was based. Uh, Tipu Sultan sent his last correspondence to Zaman Shah in January of 1799, and in that, Tipu Sultan informed Zaman Shah that the British were preparing for an upcoming war against Tipu Sultan. All to say that Tipu Sultan's main objective here was to seek Afghanistan's assistance against the British. Second, what was the Afghan response? Well, in principle, the Afghan ruler Zaman Shah agreed to assist Tipu Sultan. Uh, he even wrote letters to governors general of Bengal. Uh, the first letter was written to John Shore, and then the second letter was written to Richard Wellesley. In those letters, Zaman Shah informed these governors general of his intentions to come to India. And in line with his intentions, Zaman Shah arrived in Lahore in December of 1798. But unfortunately for Zaman Shah and unfortunately for Tipu Sultan, Zaman Shah was unable to proceed further than Lahore. And from Lahore, he had to return to Afghanistan. Well, what was happening in Afghanistan, you may ask? And this question brings us to our third point, which is the British reaction to this outreach on behalf of Tipu Sultan to Zaman Shah. Well, the British obviously weren't happy about this, and they could not accept an alliance between Tipu Sultan and Zaman Shah, because such an alliance would have tilted the balance of power against the British on the subcontinent and posed a serious challenge to British designs to colonize India and to sap India's resources. Uh, Luckily for the British at this time, Zaman Shah's stepbrother Mahmud was in Persia. Uh, the British put pressure on the Persians so that they in turn could put pressure on Mahmud to return to Afghanistan and to raise the standard of rebellion against Zaman Shah. Uh, when Zaman Shah was in Lahore, his stepbrother Mahmud entered Afghanistan from Persia and he captured Herat. Uh, at this time, Zaman Shah had a choice to make. Should he have proceeded to Delhi, Bengal, or Deccan, or should he have come to Kabul? Well, Zaman Shah decided to come back to Afghanistan to save his throne, and that helped the British to nip this plan in the bud and to not allow Zaman Shah to proceed further than Lahore and to assist Tipu Sultan one way or the other. Like I said, let's not forget the major role played by the British here to upset this alliance and these diplomatic and non-diplomatic moves on the part of Tipu Sultan and Zaman Shah. With that, my presentation comes to an end. I thank everyone for their attention. Thank you so much, and have a good day.
Hello all, this is Muneer Ahmed from Tumakuru, India. The title of my presentation is Tipu Sultan, a pioneer of green revolution. I am highlighting some aspects of Tipu Sultan's wise and rational thinking relating to agriculture, livestock, and horse breeding. I consulted historical documentation, spoke to experts on these topics, and conducted primary field based research for a period spanning over a decade. I summarize my findings in this paper. Amrit Mahal cattle and Tipu's foresight. Tipu was born in Mysore Kingdom, where agriculture even today is the basic and most important profession of the masses. According to a publication of Captain Pierce and A. Krishna Swami Iyengar in 1912, Hyderlist Tipu's father inherited Benny Chowdi cattle herds from the Mysore Vadiyas. Tipu reconstituted this department. He renamed it as Amrit Mahal, expanded the department to a much larger scale, and issued Hukumnama or detailed regulations. His officers were Amaldars, had to train young male bullocks and segregate them according to their ultimate utility. Tipu initiated an annual Huzur Ginti, that is, census of livestock. The word kaval means a keeper in Kannada language. To encourage livestock upkeep, Tipu rewarded the best of kavals with gold and silver presents. It is said that Tipu often personally attended this event when he distributed his rewards. Similar procedures are used to this day to count Amrit Mahal. I visited Arsikare town and surrounding areas in Hassan district in April 2009. Here I came across cavalgars or guardians of pasture land who informed me that it was their inherited profession from the time of Tipu. According to them, Tipu reserved specific grazing grounds for cattle, some of which exist to this day. Tipu, like his father Hyder, used this cattle to haul large cannon. He marched his armies at lightning speed along with support system across mountains and rivers. In 1783, Tipu learned of the inhuman massacres of civilians and unarmed soldiers carried out by British General Matthews in and around the city of Abidnur, also known as Nagar. He covered a distance of nearly 63 miles, about 100 kilometers, in just a couple of days to take the lost territory and capture Matthews. Now, we'll go to Kungal Stud Farm. I visited Kungal Stud Farm in Tumakuru district in November 2009 and met Dr. Dinesh, general manager and veterinary head of the farm. According to him, Tipu conducted an assessment of all variables before establishing a stud farm in Kunigal. First, he found that the climate of Kunigal was ideal for raising horses. Water was available in plenty with two man-made lakes adjoining it, namely Kunigal Doddakere and Kunigal Chikkakere. Second factor considered was soil fertility. The grass that grows in this region is protein rich. Third was the choice of a site after an assessment of the climate and the availability of good fodder. A flat site of 1,506 acres was selected. A central farm of 1,340 acres was established on this site. The entire 1,340 acre site was landscaped with a gentle slope to ensure the water did not accumulate in any spot and the firmness of the soil was retained with plentiful grass growth. The site was divided into 145 stables wherein horses of different ages and breeds were separately kept. A fence was established around each stable. Horse is a social animal and likes to be with his comrades. Therefore, to one side, a roofed shed was constructed with rows of stables with the horses facing each other. A veterinary hospital with offices and stores is located in the other side of the farm. Surrounding the entire site was as well as the stables. Tall growing trees were planted that acted as noise absorbers. Tipu is said to have established several estate farms around the year 1790. The one at Kunigal is probably the first scientific farm of its kind in India, which, according to his horses' protection, preservation, nourishment, and biological needs, he aimed to have war horses that did not tire easily and could maneuver well. They received the specialized training in the movement required in combat, including turning, stopping, lunging, after which they were turned over to the army. No wonder the armies of Maratha and British respected Mysore's cavalry. Dr. Dinesh said, the horses are trained with similar principles even to this day. The only difference is that whereas in the older days the horses were raised for war, today they are raised for racing. Now we'll go to Lal Bagh. These days there is a sloganeering about green revolution. However, Tipu not only thought about it 200 years ago, but implemented it, covering Mysore into a model agriculture state. Hyder Ali established Lal Bagh at Bengaluru in 1760s on a site spread over 240 acres. Tipu took the concept of a garden beyond what the Mughals had developed. He visualized that the gardens could be used for the well-being of the people and the progress of the country. I visited Lal Bagh in November 2010 and met Mr. Tahsin Ahmed, Director of Agriculture, Lal Bagh, Government of Karnataka. His staff educated me with their vast knowledge about this garden and flora. Tipu developed Lal Bagh as a modern research center for agriculture. His primary objective was to make Mysore self-sufficient in food, fruit, and vegetables. Lal Bagh had three types of nurseries. One related to agriculture, the second gardening, and the third concerned aromatic and ornamental plants. In addition, the Department of Forestry was under his supervision. He imported a variety of plants and flower seedlings from and established centers to cultivate these seedlings in Indian conditions. Benjamin Hayne was an assistant to Colonel Mackenzie, superintendent of Mysore survey in 1800. He came across a Achawati tree, Bixa arillana, a native of tropical region of Central and South America, and attributed its introduction to Tipu Sultan. R.M. Palana, a senior forest officer of Karnataka, has written that it was Tipu who introduced eucalyptus tree in India in 1790. This was at Nandi Hills near Bengaluru. Tipu also paid attention to cultivate new varieties of rice. He initiated production of clove seeds and their distribution among planters in the mountainous Western Ghats. There were many gardens in Tipu's kingdom similar to Lal Bagh. James Matthew, a British soldier who took part in the Third Anglo-Mysore War in 1790 and 92, wrote of a similar garden around Hyder Ali's family necropolis at Kolar. There he saw many European trees and also apple trees and grape vines. Srirangapatna was also had two beautiful gardens which were home to agriculture research centers according to other British chroniclers. Francis Buchanan, a British surveyor and a doctor, toured Mysore kingdom immediately after capture by British in 1799. He wrote about the gardens laid out by Hyder and Tipu around Srirangapatna. He saw a mango orchard of 2,400 trees in Malwali replete with mangoes. He also came across orange orchards looked after by experts. In Tumakuru district, around Kunigal, the farmers still cultivate a mulberry plant called Sultan Kaddi. Tipu imported this variety from China and trained people to plant and nourish them. 200 years after his martyrdom, this region still produces a superior grade of silk. Tipu laid down ordinances for agriculture and gardening, many of which were documented by Charles Francis Grenville in 1795. He nationalized sandalwood trees. He ordered the planting and care of fruits like mango on the best available ground in each village. He gave tax concessions to breed nut and coconut farmers. His government paid for the agriculture of such land to increase fruitation, trees, as well as vegetables. According to Hayne, jackfruit, Artacarpus integraphilia, was planted along the roadside on the orders of Tipu. He observed this at Hoskote and Bengaluru. In another edict, those who committed petty offences were made to sow two mango and two jamun trees and forced them to care for 4 years. His kingdom soon became sufficient in food, fruits, and vegetable. The land was covered with greenery. It was for this reason that British Major Moore, who fought Tipu in the battle, wrote in 1793, and I quote, "His country was found everywhere full of inhabitants and apparently cultivated to the utmost extent of which the soil was capable.